Well, here's a little, it seems like homage to Grindhouse Purgatory by a guy named Jamie Dunn, who his website, severedcinema.com, who reviewed several issues of Grindhouse Purgatory. He really did a pretty wild job here. Leave page, okay. Fuck you, Facebook. Yeah, I want to leave page because he really, really did a cool job on this whole thing of, setting it up and stuff. So, thank you, Mr. Dunn. We here at Grindhouse Purgatory appreciate you reviewing us and putting us over on your site there. So, there'll be more to come. Trust me, my friend, a lot more to come. Well, another installment of Grindhouse Purgatory, as today is Martin Luther King Day, and we celebrate that, and we don't get any mail. Not that we've been getting any fucking mail to begin with. I don't know how things are in your guys' neck of the woods, but it seems like Cleveland has replaced Jersey City as the black hole of the postal system, because nothing is getting delivered around here. Property tax bills will be due. Income tax will be due, and yet nothing's getting delivered here, but people still want their fucking money, even though the mail doesn't work. But I digress. Today I have an interesting thing to talk about. It's sort of like the advent of when DVDs came out, because a lot of us weren't going to make the switch from VHS to DVD because we had already made the switch from VHS to Laserdiscs. And in the middle of the Laserdisc thing, they pulled the plug and decided to go with DVDs. Well, I remember all roads lead back to Liquidators anyway, because Frank Henenlotter used to come in and browse through the tapes, and he said, no way, no way, no way, I'm not going to replace my collection with DVDs. And I said, neither am I. So one day Frank comes in and he goes, Pete, I just got the Wolfman on DVD. It looks great. I'm like, you son of a bitch, now I gotta go fucking do this. Well, anyway, we were huge with Liquidators. We were the biggest VHS, adult VHS distributor probably in Manhattan at one point before everything went to shit. And Norm was smart enough to know that the next wave was going to be the DVD. But Norm was a crook, and he was a smart crook in some respects and a dumb crook in the other respects because he got greedy. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers this little ditty, but an outfit called Circuit City, an electronic chain, had these DVDs that would basically either not play or go blank after 2 plays. This was sort of some kind of rental thing they were doing, I believe. I could be completely fucking totally wrong, but all I know is that they played twice and then they didn't play again. And I think that helped the demise of that chain anyway, because they went out of business soon after that. But what happened was Norm got sold a bunch of this shit, all good titles, and not knowing that the whole thing, they had been played twice and wouldn't play again. So he got burned on that whole deal, but the guy was like a cat. He had 9 lives. He pretty much snuck the shit into some fucking auction that was going on and got rid of them that way. So, prior to the DVDs coming out, the cheapest you could buy wholesale a porn VHS tape, and I'm talking like if you bought a couple thousand, was probably about $1.25. You really couldn't go below that. So now they come in with the DVDs, and originally, like, any first, venture, they were expensive. But porn people were getting this shit replicated offshore, out in Thailand and Mexico and Taiwan and places like that. So they were bringing in these horrible porn compilations that ran 2, 4, and 6 hours, and they were probably getting them, brought in for like $0.25 a piece. So that sort of derailed what could happen. But I'm bouncing around here, and there's a purpose to this. We didn't know shit about any of this stuff. Now, this guy comes in and approaches Norman. His name was John Matarazzo. And he claimed he had the rights to all this stuff, and he was going to put out all these DVDs, and would Norm be interested? So I'm by the counter, and I hear this guy talking about he's got horror movies, he's got this, I got that. I go, well, what kind of horror movies do you have? And he shows me this catalog he made up that's pretty much atrocious, but somehow the Blob was in there. And I said, you got the rights to the Blob? And he goes, yeah. I said, with that fucking box, it looks like a 2-year-old drew. You ain't going to sell that damn thing. I said, why don't you come back, next week after I go home, and I'll bring in my Video Gems box of the Blob, and you can make a cover out of that. Well, he goes, what else do you have? So I'm like, okay, I got this thing in a clamshell called Flesh Feast. He goes, I'll look that one up. I got this thing in a clamshell called Manson. I'll look that one up. I gave him about 4 or 5. Well, it wound up that he claims he filed on the Blob, Flesh Feast, Manson. What the fuck else was in there? And a bunch of karate stuff that Norm had. He claimed he had all the rights to this shit, bloop, 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 and all this Mexican horror stuff. So I'm like, cool. So he needs a replicator. So Norm knew about 5 or 6 of these guys that were doing the porn, so he hooks this guy up with these replicators. All right, a few months go by, don't hear nothing. All of a sudden, Norm starts getting calls from these replicators. Where is this guy fucking Matarazzo you set us up with? Because he's not picking up his orders and he's not paying his bills. Well, every fucking person that Norm sent this guy to never got paid. And of course, they're going after Norm for this because he was the one who referred the guy over. So, number one, the guy never had the rights to any of this shit. And number 2, these guys are pissed off. Now, just to show you how fucking bad this stuff was, I dug through my fucking collection. This is the Mexican stuff he was doing. Look at this cover. The Vampire's Coffin. There's the back cover. Now, how dumb would you want to be to put your fucking name on the damn thing? Because this is supposedly a Beverly Wilshire Filmworks, a realization by John Matarazzo. Now, I can put this up. I don't know if you can see that, but his name is there. And then this other wonderful one, Bring Me the Vampire. Do you think that fucking thing would sell? Look at this shit. This is the shit he did. I mean, this is terrible. And Curse of the Doll People. These were like, I guess, taken off TV or something like that. But, the guy was a ballsy bastard because his name is on every fucking one of these damn things. Well, all right. So, like I said, Norm had 9 lives like a fucking cat. How do you turn a negative into a positive? Norm offers to buy up all the stock. Now, I think he might have paid $1.50 for all this shit. $1.50 a piece across the board. A lot less than what they were hoping to get, but now we have boxes and boxes, the 30 boxes of this stuff. So the big hit, with in the store was the karate stuff, and I had a few customers that were, selling the stuff. One guy, a friend of mine, Jeff, down in Texas, he was selling it. So, okay, we ship him a bunch of the stuff. Now, the big thing was, at that point in time, I had gotten Norm into Chiller Theater. Now, where is a great fucking place to dump all this Mexican stuff and the Blob and Flesh Feast and Manson? At a horror convention. So, Norm brings a ton of this shit in. He took like 6 tables or something like that. He's going crazy, because he's got a lot of room with this stuff. You can wholesale this stuff for $3, you're making money. A lot of the other vendors bought the stuff off him, and a lot of people, bought the stuff, for themselves and to resell. Well, therein lies the problem, because somebody big owned a piece of that Manson thing. And I'm getting calls at Liquidators from guys that bought the stuff at Chiller, and they're like, I just got popped for this shit, I can't sell it, what should I do? I said, bring it back, I'll flip it around for something else. So I'm getting a lot of calls like this now. So I go to Norm, I said, dude, this is bullshit. We got to get rid of this stuff. This could be a problem. Well, in the interim, I didn't know this, and I didn't know Art Edinger at the time from Ultraviolet magazine, but somebody, either Art or somebody else connected with Art, wrote something for Ultraviolent about how he found all this Manson DVD stuff in this very shady warehouse, but he didn't really say where the warehouse was. But he described the help as, foreign, and the guy behind the counter is surly, so that could only be me, because all the shit was backed by me. So I was laughing about this because I'm reading this article and I'm like, Norm didn't have a fucking warehouse. This is where all the shit was. So, like I said, the heat was really on with this stupid ass Manson DVD. Of course, he used the whole VHS cover for it. Brilliant. I never knew what happened to this guy. He just fucking vanished. He was like Solomon Rushdie. He gone. Nobody knew what the fuck happened to him. So the stupid thing was, now I'm starting to get calls from guys that I wholesale the karate stuff to, that people own this shit and they're getting shit. Finally I go, whatever you got left, ship it back. I'll replace it with something else of equal or greater value because we got to get rid of this stuff. So I go to Norm, I says, look, dude, the sticking point is this Manson shit. This is what somebody's really fucking hot for, and they want to know where it is. And I think we might have had 900 of them left at that point. I said, get rid of them. And he's like, he don't want to get rid of nothing. So, all right, he goes on vacation for a week and a half. And I said to the second in charge, Angel, I said, do you really want to deal with the fucking crap again that happened before? Because, to refresh everybody's memory, if you don't know it, New York City Liquidators was the site of the biggest bootleg VHS bust in the history of the East Coast. So they had that rap hung on them, and it was true. So and Angel was one of those guys that got arrested with the whole deal because they all got marched off to jail when the place got raided. So I said, is it really worth fucking with this stuff? He goes, what do you think? I said, just throw it in a fucking dumpster. Who gives a shit? He's gone. We'll say I sold the stuff. I don't care. Just get it out of here. So that's what we did. But, this whole thing was just weird because it just circulated around. And I don't know who somebody said that Vincent Bugliosi might have owned a piece of this shit or something. But they were definitely fucking rousting people and busting people for this shit. And they wanted to know where they came from. And like I said, nobody said nothing because anybody I sold them to, I took care of the problem. I just wanted to get them out of the damn store. But see, that was the whole problem with Norm. He couldn't pass up shit like that. And this was, when you talk about crime and criminals and shit like that, they had that 3-strike law of a federal offense. If you get banged 3 federal raps, you're gone. You're never getting out of jail. Well, I kept driving that home to him because he got busted for the counterfeit Rolexes way before I knew him. Then when I knew him, he got busted for the counterfeit VHS stuff. And I said, dude, right now you're on dialysis for your kidney problems and shit like that. I go, do you really want to do that in fucking jail? That's what's going to happen. Get rid of this shit. So, part of my job was keeping him fucking honest because he still had that fucking mentality you could get away with shit when you couldn't. Sort of like the idiots that stormed the Capitol wearing fucking name tags and company logos and shit like that. We don't have any smart crooks. I hung out with smart crooks. But yeah, it's just a weird little slice of fucking DVD stuff because for a while, this was the only way you could get the Mexican horror films. And like I said, prints were okay. They were all right. Boxes, another fucking story. They were horrible. Really horrible. So there's a lot of Liquidator stories floating around, but that one was more, pertinent to the fact that it, went back to the Grindhouse era and, you're bootlegging a Manson film that somebody owns. I don't know what happened to Mr. Matarazzo. For all I know, he might be part of a landfill, but tell you, the guy had fucking balls. He came in, took us all for the fucking ride. Luckily, no money on Norm's part, or at least I don't think on Norm's part, but not on my part changed hands, so it was all good. So, well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing, and wear a fucking mask, and we'll have more for you down the road. So, happy Martin Luther King's Day. Stay safe.